India's non-religious paradox. In a country with a millennia-old history of non-religious movements, most atheists and rationalists in India find it safer to remain silent about their skepticism, despite the nation's deep-rooted tradition of questioning and skepticism. Avinash Patel, a religious skeptic and leader of an anti-superstition group, comments on the shrinking space for debating religious authority and belief, attributing this to rising religious tensions and growing Hindu nationalism. While there is a global rise in the number of non-believers or nuns in India's non-religious, despite their historical significance, face challenges and risks in being vocal about their beliefs, especially amidst the recent surge of Hindu nationalism. Patil says, quote, when you are open about it and engage in activism, it can get challenging and even dangerous. This sentiment captures the atmosphere as many quote unquote nuns still seek justice for the murder of rationalist Narendra Dabholkar a decade ago. So, one, let us celebrate the fact that Indian atheists got this huge profile in the Associated Press. I thought this was really cool. And this article dives into a lot of different stuff going on for Indian atheists. It has a significant amount of portion of it highlighting um, kind of Indian rationalists that fight against superstition. And this is one of my favorite things about the rationalist movement in India are their efforts to really combat skepticism. I mean, excuse me, superstition, because it reminds me of the work of James Randi, and obviously, like the amazing Randi, his work against superstition and kind of supernaturalism is just so iconic, and so it's really cool for me to see kind of that work being carried on in a very different social context, right? Um, they also talk about how, in this article, a lot of the kind of legal challenges that atheists face in India, mainly when it comes to getting your paperwork done. So there isn't really the country doesn't officially recognize atheism or the non-religious. So if you're filling out your paperwork in on like birth certificates or school admissions paperwork, there's delays in documents if you don't state your religion. So there are a lot of people that just fill out their religion in the checkbox for whatever background they came from, right? But there are organizations that are pushing for the government to actually allow just simple checkbox that says no religion. Um, and then it went on to highlight how the non-religious movement has major influences on the anti-caste movement in India, and it has major influences both historically and in present in social justice causes for the standing of women, for the standing of tribals, um, etc. And then they kind of just went on to talk about um, kind of the day-to-day life of a lot of different atheists and some of the historical tradition of materialist belief in India, and then also it highlighted the story of like I said, Narendra double excuse me Dabholkar, who was an anti-superstition activist who was assassinated, and their efforts to get justice for him. Um and I don't know, I loved it. If you scroll through the article, there's actually a lot of really amazing photos um in here. Um Liam is saying, "Love the Atheist Republic channel." Thank you, Liam. Um, but yeah, Armin, what do you think about
So
kind of the rise of non-religion in India?
wait, so this is the guy, right? So I just want
Mhm.
people to know what we're saying. Yeah. So here are people. Look at the passion here. Look at the passion. Oh my God. What is this picture saying?
Oh, this is just like
Oh, this is.
in a Ganesh festival.
Mm, this is. I don't. I think anything that happens in India is like 10 times everywhere else. and it doesn't get as much attention as it should. So I'm so happy AP, the Associated Press, is covering this.
Hmm.
What are this? What is it? What does it say on these signs? Do you know?
Oh,
Can
this
anyone
is
tell us?
a rally for Narendra, who was assassinated. This the guy in the middle is like the leader, the new leader of the anti-superstition group, and so they're having a march for him.
Oh, so what did you? Can you tell us a little bit about him and why he was killed?
Basically, I don't know too much about his background. I remember I this was in Maharashtra, I believe. And so some time ago I was reading about anti-superstition movements in Maharashtra, and I'm not 100% certain that the person I'm remembering is the same man. I think it is though. And basically he was just very strong in going after godmen who were abusive, and also documenting ways in which the tricks that godmen or religious figures will play on people, because they have all these kind of like little, essentially, for lack of a better term, they're like magic tricks, right? Little things that they can do that just look so crazy, and it looks like magic is happening in front of your face, so you're like, oh my gosh, this man must have some sort of authority or spiritual awareness or knowledge of something beyond me, because look, he can do this trick that I can't explain or can't describe. And so he would
Mm,
basically do these almost like science experiments to show how explain these like magic tricks that they do, and explain these little things that they can do that trick you into thinking that they have special powers, and explain them and be like, look, this person doesn't have supernatural powers. This is all completely explainable. This is all materialistic. And when you're showing how the magician does his tricks, that's obviously going to upset a lot of people that get their source of power and strength and income off of that. And so,
right.
and that can also be seen as deeply challenging of Hindu dominant norms, right? And um
So
not even norms, but maybe popular superstition. Um and yeah, that put a target on his back. He had enemies because of that.
yeah, I think people don't understand how important atheist activists are. Secular anti-superstition and atheist activists are, and it's a thankless form of activism, and India needs it badly. So, if you're an atheist or a secular activist or a liberal activist in India, uh, you know, just try to have. uh, I hope you're having each other's backs, because you guys need each other, and your country needs you. India is going to become. It is already, but it's going to become more and more of an economic superpower, right? So anything that slows down or just hinders that even by a little bit is affecting millions and millions of people more than any other country, right? So if you are an atheist activist in India, the contribution you're doing to the world is more than most people, right? Because the main thing that is standing between India and its progress, like India will progress no matter what, but that could be fast or it could be very fast, um you because a lot of people think just because India is progressing, that means that it's doing everything it could do. It's meeting its maximum potential. But you could progress and still fall short of what you could have the speed at what you could have progressed. Like there are a lot of missed opportunities, and you can see based on the politics of India, there's a lot of missed opportunities because of the government and the people being very religious, right? And how much religion, superstition, and conservatism is slowing down the progress of India in many different ways. So just know that every atheist activist or anything that is fighting superstition in India, you're doing a service to the future of India that is going to affect millions and millions of people. Even a tiny amount of contribution as an activist in India, as big as India is, there's going to be way more people in the future that are people exist today, or that have been in the history of mankind. There's way more in our future than it has been in our past, right? So even you being an activist and just moving that needle just by a little bit, just a tiny bit, there are millions and millions of people in the future that should be grateful to you, right? So don't think like I'm a small activist, I don't have that much of an influence. You're making the lives of millions of people better just by that. So I just want to thank people who are in the front lines of fighting religion, especially in a country as big as India. So
Mhm.
salute to you guys. Yeah.
Salute. Um, and D is saying, shout out to YouTube channels. Science is dope and rationable. Yes, guys, if you want to go support Indian atheists that are doing the hard work, that are actually doing the work of promoting this and bringing it to their communities, go check out these channels. Um, Thank you, D, for remembering that, because I do always love to highlight the work of Indians who are challenging these norms, right? Um,
Mm,
Diving into the taboo. It's not easy, guys.
mhm,
Gasian American gave us a super chat saying thoughts spelled THOTS on Ambedkar's call for separate electorates for backwards castes. Um, so my understanding is, and I will, for people who don't know, I'll read it very briefly. Um, so during one period of time in his thoughts and activism, he this is something he called for, and he said that separate electorates meant that only members of the Dalit community would vote for their representatives separate from the general electorate. He believed that this would give Dalits a voice in the political system and safeguard their interests. Now, my understanding is that his thoughts evolved past this, and he exchanged this formulation in favor of basically assimilation and bringing the Dalits upwards to assimilate into the
mm.
broader society. Um, so I could be wrong. I'm no historian, but my understanding is that his thoughts evolved past this. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
The key thing is his intentions when he was looking for a different solution was to give, the Dalits and other lower, what other people consider to be lower castes, as giving them a louder voice. So that was
Mhm.
what he was trying to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr.
Yeah.
Ambedkar was such a blessing to India. I hope
Yo.
more people.
Yeah. Guys,
Yeah.
that's a reminder. If you have diabetes, take care of your diabetes. We could have had
Yeah.
this legend for much longer. um,
Right, right, right. See, my obsession with health is now justified based on that, what you just said.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And for those who
Uh,
are not familiar,
mm,
like backward cast is actually what it's called in the system. Like that's not a pejorative word. Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say
so
a lot of India's progress right now, a lot of it, a big, big, big portion of it is because of Dr. Ambedkar. Is that an exaggeration, do you think?
that a
I would
lot of
say
what
no.
is because of him?
A lot of India's progress is because India had Dr. Ambedkar.
I mean, I'm very biased, so I want to say yeah. I'm
Yeah. So
because
so
he is
remember
someone I
that when
admire so much.
yeah, but so here's the thing. A lot of people think that we are anti-India because we're anti-Hinduism, okay? But the main guy, one of the founding fathers of India, the guy that was involved in the writing the constitution, right? And the guy that is responsible for so much of what is great about India was in agreement with us, and he was anti-Hinduism. He was anti-Hinduism and anti-Islam at the same time. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Don't
yeah.
let anyone ever convince you that you are any less Indian or any less of like a contributing citizen within the nation because you are not religious. That's absurd. Some of the
Mm,
greatest social leaders in India were not only not religious, they were explicitly anti-Hinduism. So,
yeah.
um
So Ayan is saying I'm correct. Yes, Armin, you are right. He played a huge role. So people from India are agreeing with me. Eric is saying yes, Dr. Ambedkar created a semblance of modern state in what would have been a feudal hellhole. Okay, see, I think I'm not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating, right? So it's patriotic for an Indian to be anti-Hinduism. Okay, I would say, right? It's patriotic for an Israeli citizen to be anti-Judaism, and it's patriotic for an Indian citizen to be anti-Hinduism. Right? It serves your country to fight against Hinduism. Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.